we're going to take a little trip back down memory lane today. We're not cooking anything, but I'm going to go ahead and put the apron on because that's how you know. Well, that's how Casey knows when she. And did you see how quick the short hair came out from behind the apron? But that's how Casey knows when it's time to separate the chats. So she will post the entire hour as one video, and then she posts just the second half as its own, just in case you missed, if like if it was a recipe or if we were making something, or if you just wanted this little bit of information but you didn't want to spend a whole nother hour watching it. You could just skip to the one where the apron comes into play. So these are all on IfYouHaveAnEgg.com, and you can print all of the notes from www.IfYouHaveAnEgg.com, and you can go back and watch these on YouTube, and that's just youtube.com, search If You Have an Egg. I also post these every night, every Sunday night. After we get done, I go ahead and hit share, finish, and then share on Facebook, so you can go back and watch them on Facebook in case you didn't get the message about setting your clocks forward. So just out of curiosity, before we start the second half, does anyone here live in a state that does not observe the time change? Just curious, because I can't remember which states don't do that. And I really, really, really need to know how we lobby for just leaving it alone, because we're all done. We're all done with it. Okay, so quick show of hands. Who lives in anybody? Is there anybody that lives in a state that does not observe the time change? So we just changed to, what is it? Eastern Standard Daylight, no wait, what is it? Let's see, Daylight Savings, DST, Daylight Savings Time is what we're on right now, is Eastern DST, Daylight Savings Time, whatever. We just want daylight more time, okay? Okay, so this is the second half of the chat, of tonight's chat, and today is Sunday. Ooh, Hawaii does not. Interesting. Yeah, and Debbie, is there any chance? They do need to end the nonsense there. Okay, so this is chat number 356, and it was titled How to Build Healthy Habits That Stick. So while we were talking about some things from last week, one of the things that I said that I did this week that I'd never done before, one was getting my hair cut above my shoulders. So I've not had my hair cut above my shoulders, I think, since 4th grade. I tried to go back and look, but I think it's been since 4th grade. So did that this week. Second thing was I did all of my grocery shopping at Walmart, and won't be doing that anymore because I didn't save any money, didn't save any time. I think I was there like 2 hours, just trying to find everything. It's too big. And then I revisited the year 2017. So what does that have to do with anything? I have a question. Do you happen to remember what you were doing on January the 2nd of this year? Does anybody know? It wasn't January 1st, so you weren't celebrating New Year's. Hello, Karen, and thank you. So you weren't celebrating New Year's because it wasn't January 1st. It was January 2nd. Does anybody remember what they were doing on January the 2nd? So those of us that were in Gwen's in-person workshop in Powell this last week, at the beginning of the year on January the 2nd, Tuesday, January the 2nd, 2024. Okay, Debbie was working. Tuesday, January the 2nd, 2024, we were asked to come up with a word of the year. So one word that would encompass our entire year. So it would represent how we wanted this year to go, okay? I heard all sorts of inspirational things, like people were saying like, my word is going to be success, or focus. Focus was one I heard like 5 times. Win was somebody's word. One of them was forward. Then there were lots more. Me? Well, I could use the excuse that I was on the downhill swing, and I mean downhill swing before we finally went up again, of having the flu the week prior to that, so I didn't pick a word. But it wasn't because I hadn't been sick, because I had been sick. That was not why I didn't pick a word. And it wasn't because my brain was foggy from being sick, or because I had because I still had a cough, whatever. That wasn't the reason that I didn't pick a word. I just couldn't think of a word that wasn't the Sunday school answer of Jesus. And in case you didn't know that, that is the standard answer down here in the South, in the Bible Belt. If someone asks you a question in church, in Sunday school, whatever, if you don't know the answer, if you say Jesus as the answer, everything is forgiven. That is a correct answer for any question that you could possibly be asked at church or at Sunday school. Okay, So I didn't want to give that kind of an answer. I didn't want to just throw out all these very inspirational and I'm sure perfect for them words. I didn't want to throw one of those out. So I just didn't pick one at all. But now, 2 months later, 2 months and a week or so later, Gwen asked us again this past Tuesday night what our word was. She wanted everybody to go back and remember, do you remember what your word was? From January the 2nd. And I was like, nope. My little hand didn't go up. I didn't make eye contact. I didn't have a word. I didn't have a word. But her question, it just kept digging into my brain the whole way home. What's your word, Kelly? What's your word going to be? What is your word? And trust me, Gwen was not nagging. She was just asking if we remembered it. But I just kept thinking, I didn't pick a word. What's my word going to be? Nagging, and that's me. My brain was nagging and nagging. Kelly, you need a word of the year. Kelly, it's already March, and for heaven's sake, you don't even have a simple theme to focus on, okay? Kelly, what are you gonna do? Kelly, and then it hit me. My word of the year is awake, and I'm gonna explain that here in just a second. So, when I say I revisited 2017, I realized, oh my gosh, I need to wake up. I need to be awake. So please humor me with a little trip back to 2020 before we go back to 2017. Okay, so just humor me and going along on this little trip with me. So if you're here, if you are physically here with us, or if you're watching this later, you lived through the pandemic. You lived through it. And you have your own stories about the pandemic. You have your own stories about baking banana bread. You have your own stories about not leaving your house. You have your own stories about your newfound love for grocery delivery. You have all kinds of stories. Here's a little bit about my story and why now it made me revisit the year 2017, why I went back and looked at 2017, and why now I have chosen the word awake for my word to be for this whole year. So in 2015, I got to my goal weight. Remember, I said I've been a Weight Watchers member for on and off for, now almost 30 years. And in 2015, I finally, after all those years, that was the 6th time that I had joined, six times a charm, So in 2015, I got to my goal weight. And actually, I got a little bit below my goal weight. And I got so far below my goal weight that John asked our daughter, Casey, to please ask me to stop losing weight. So that's 30-something pounds ago, okay? So, yeah, that was 2015. Still rocking on along in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then 2020 happened. So 2020 happened, and everything just stopped. I mean, y'all know the entire world, literally every single day, a little bit more, a little bit more, the world just stopped. We started losing people. You couldn't go anywhere. Some of us were shut in, shut down, whatever. So in 2020, I lost my walking time with Karen, and we had been walking 3 days a week, plus every morning and every night I was walking in downtown Knoxville. You couldn't go outside at first. My variety of food went like this because all of a sudden I couldn't pop over to the store every day when I wanted to get something. My tracking, because we couldn't go to Weight Watchers meetings anymore. So who was I going to tell about what I was tracking? Either my food or my weight. I had nobody to tell because you couldn't go and share with anybody. I wasn't paying attention to what my body was telling me because I was too busy paying attention to, did that person just sneeze? Am I going to get sick? Have I wiped down my groceries? On and on and on and on and on. And I realized, so when I went back and looked at what is my word going to be this year, I've not been awake since 2020. I have literally been sleepwalking. I've been sleepwalking through this since the pandemic. I let the pandemic tell me that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't brave enough, I wasn't whatever. And I literally now that I've realized it, now that Gwen asked us nicely, not the nagging as I described it, I've just been sleepwalking. I've literally been on autopilot since 2020, and this is 2024. Okay, so my word for this year is now officially today. It is officially awake. So let me explain what awake means. Okay, I went back, even though I got to goal in 2015, I had really kind of settled in. So is there anybody else here that has been at for any length of time or is currently at their goal weight and a lifetime member? So let me just see a show of hands, quick show of hands, if you are currently at your goal weight and are a lifetime member, or if you have been in the past. So quick show of hands, because I'm going to ask you all a question and I think that you will agree with me. Okay, Mary, Sandra, pretty sure Debbie fits that list. Kim, if Sylvia was here, I'm pretty sure she'd, be on that list. There's going to be several of us. So, okay, so I'm just going to say I found it easier that sixth time. Dickie's thumbs up. So I found it easier that sixth time to lose weight. So I thought it was easier to lose weight than it was to maintain it. Like, I was scared to death. So Pam, Sarah, yeah, thank you all for sharing that. So I was more afraid of how I was going to maintain it than the losing it. So losing it was, I don't want to say it was easy. Please don't, when I say easy. Oh, and Sherry, the question was, are you at your goal weight and a lifetime member, or have you been in the past? So I'm just looking for just a show of hands, just to see if people agree with me on this. So I don't mean that weight loss was easy, but it was easier. Losing the weight was easier than maintaining it, because everybody was, complimenting me. Oh my gosh, you look so good. I loved it. When my clothes were getting bigger, so losing the weight was kind of the high, like going down was kind of the high point. And when I got down to what my goal is now, I just kept pushing it and I kept going lower. Oh, if I can get to that weight, can I go lower? Can I go lower? Can I go lower? Can I go lower? How much lower can I get? How much lower can I get? So it took me 2 years, almost 2 years. Okay, good. Marlene's at her goal weight. So, Marlene, you'll have to chime in on this. So, it took me about 2 years to kind of settle out. So, for that first year, I just kept creeping down, 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 down. Not a lot, but I just kept creeping down, a little bit, because then I was scared to eat anything. So, once I hit my goal and got a little under, first of all, I was scared to eat anything. Second of all, because I was terrified that I was just going to gain it all back, just like I had every other time. So I was terrified that I was going to gain it back, terrified to eat anything. And then it turned into a little game, a little mind game with myself to see how much lower I could go. Okay, so that was 2015 to 2017 was me going eek, 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 going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down a little bit. Yeah, oh, Sandra's 11 pounds below. Is that where you want to be? But it was just that little for 2 years. Then from 2017 until stupid COVID, I was rocking it. Like, I knew exactly how many points I could eat a day. I knew exactly what I could eat a day. I knew exactly what I could have if I was going to give myself a little freedom. And I don't want to call it a cheat day, because you're not cheating anything. You're just you're indulging, So cheating, insinuates that you can't have something, then just insinuates that you shouldn't have something or can't have something or no, bad. So, but I knew from 2017 to 2020, I knew what I had to do to stay, right there, to stay within 2 pounds, up and down. And it was constant like this, but that was from 2017 to 2020. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I didn't just crash. I crashed and burned, because I was bitter. I was bitter that Casey and I couldn't go to Planet Fitness anymore. I was bitter that Karen and I couldn't. I mean, we were even afraid to go outside and just walk together. I was bitter that I couldn't go, that I couldn't just wander around downtown, because who could you pass? Who should you be near? I was bitter that I couldn't get any fat-free cream cheese. Y'all know I got rid of that bitterness. So, but just bitter. And what do you do when you're that bitter, when people around you are dying, people are scared to death, you can't do anything? When you get that bitter, what do? You shove the bitter down. So you shove all that down with food, okay? For me. So for me, all that COVID bitterness, I just shoved it down with food, the food that we could get. So I went back to 2017 when I realized, Tuesday night driving home, when I realized, oh oh my gosh, my word for this year, yeah, you eat the bitter. That's exactly right, Sherry. My word for this year is going to be awake. Not focus. Focus is a great one, but not focus. I know how to focus. Not energized, because I mean, I think I got plenty of energy for that. Not hopeful. Some people were just like, hopeful? I'm just hopeful that I can do something this year. All of those were great words and they were all relevant to them. But I, on the way home, as it was going, what's your word? 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 And I realized I'm sleepwalking. I've been sleepwalking through this whole thing for the last 4 years. So my new word is awake. Okay. So why did I go back and visit 2017? Okay, and I think that's part of the reason I got my hair cut too. Not that my hair was cut in 2017, but I just needed something to help me be awake, and not just going through the motions and not just, not just sleepwalking through this whole thing. So I decided to change some things up a little bit. Got my hair cut, got some new glasses, got a couple of new pairs of glasses because I just use reading glasses. But this trip back to 2017, here's what I did. So if you're having trouble with focus, if you're having trouble with refinding yourself, if you're having trouble with, or if you're just looking for a way to be more energy or whatever, go back to a time, even if it has to be 2017. Thank you, Sherry. Even if you have to go all the way back to 2017 or further, even if you have to go back farther than that, go back, and if you can recreate any of that to figure out when you were successful, and it might have been last year, it might have been 6 months ago, it might have been last month, it might be now, but to figure out, kind of revisit it, wake up, be awake, and figure out what you need to do to get back to that point. So here is mine, and sorry we're only talking about me during this second half, but I think it's important. It's important for some of you all, and it's very important for me to say this out loud so that, so I can be awake now. First of all, 2017, I went back through on my phone, because let's face it, we don't ever delete any pictures. We all just go get a new phone with more memory. Am I right? Yeah. So if you've got too many pictures on your phone and if it's way slowed down, for heaven's sake, don't delete anything. Just go get a phone with more memory. Oh, and Marlene, 200. Oh my goodness, Marlene just sent 200 stars. Sorry for the total distraction, but thank you, Marlene. That was so sweet of you. And if you don't know what the stars are, you can send them in the messages, and that just helps to fund a little bit of this that we do here every week. Oh, that's so sweet. I'll just pause for a moment. Thank you, Marlene. That was so sweet. So, I went back to my phone, scroll, and I went back to 2017, and I thought, wow, look at this food. Look at this food that I was eating and taking pictures of every day. In 2017, which was the year that I settled out, so got to goal in 2015, settled out, 2015, and then kept going tick, 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 because I wouldn't eat anything, and then settled out by the time I got to 2017 and was just doing this nice little, riding that little wave of, keeping it all good. So that's why I went back to 2017, started looking at the pictures, and I was like, wow, look at this food. Every single breakfast consisted of an egg or yogurt or some kind of good protein. So let's say, it might be a picture of it might have been a picture of an egg and then some grits and then some fruit, or it might have been a hard-boiled egg and some steamed snow peas and an apple or whatever. But they were beautiful pictures, lots of variety. Remember, I said in the first half that eating a variety of food, so that was number 3. Number 3 in the first half was eat a variety of foods. Do you eat a variety of foods? That was one of the healthy habits that people who were successful in losing weight and keeping it off, eating a variety of foods was one of them. So I'm scrolling through those pictures and I was like, wow, I did eat a bigger variety of foods. I did eat. My mom was still alive and she was cooking for me every Saturday night. She was cooking a completely 100% vegan meal. And I had all these pictures to go back and look at all of this. So eating a variety of food, going back and looking at my pictures to see what was I eating when I was so successful, and it's not what I'm eating now. Much happier, much better variety, much more delicious, much better for me. So I revisited that. Some of those are coming back around on the menu. The second thing I did was I went back and looked at mine and Karen's, well, I can't track Karen's activity, but I went back and looked at my activity. And I was getting at least at least 10,000 steps every single day. Every single day. And there is Melissa. But I was getting at least 10,000 steps every single day. Some days I was getting 12 to 15,000 steps. I was walking multiple times a week with Karen. I was walking every single morning downtown Knoxville. I was walking every single, and I'm sorry, there wasn't downtown Knoxville then. It was another house we were at in between. But I was walking every morning for like, 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, walking every night for about 15 or 20 minutes, walking with Karen, strenuous walk 3 days a week. And I was going to Planet Fitness with Casey. My activity was through the roof. My available time to spend on activity was no more than it is now. Okay, it was probably about the same, except we didn't have the grandkids. But my activity was through the roof. Now, if I get 1,500 steps on the days that I don't walk with Karen, I'm doing good. That's sleepwalking. That's sleepwalking through this. That is not being awake. So now that I'm awake, like this morning, bless his heart, John went to Sunday school with me this morning, and we go in a room where there is no one. Usually there's no one else. It's usually just me and Dusty in this room. And John with me today, and the whole time I was listening to the worship service, which was in the sanctuary, but I had it on YouTube out in our building. I was walking the whole time. So this morning I got 900 and something steps just lapping our Sunday school classroom and listening to the worship music and to our pastor talk, like 900 steps. So being awake, I'm going to be awake and be aware of that. The next thing was not paying attention to my body. So I've not gone so completely off the rails that my tummy's upset anymore, or that I'm eating until I get sick, because that was a huge problem before Weight Watchers. Huge problem. Had to keep Pepto-Bismol on hand all the time. Was eating until I got, nauseous. And then I would be like, depending on what it was I was eating, I'd be like, I bet I can take like 3 more bites of this and not throw up. I wonder how many more bites of this I can take and not be sick. I wonder if I just ate the rest of this bag of potato chips, will I be able to sleep all night tonight? Maybe if I prop myself up, a little bit, whatever. So that was pre-getting to goal. That was pre-Weight Watchers and pre-getting to goal. So I'm not talking that level of disregard, but I've just not been paying attention to my body. When my body's telling me, hey, stuff's getting a little tight. Hey, you're having to fiddle with your bra a lot more. Hey, you can't see the bones right here anymore. I just hadn't been paying attention to my body. The biggest thing is, when I scrolled back to 2017, I realized I've been having too many relaxing days, remember, we're not going to call them cheat days, because we're not cheating anybody but ourselves, and we're not cheating the scale at all, but too many relaxing days, or relaxing food choices, or underestimating how many points something was, or saying, oh, I think I had about 15 points left for today, so I'll just eat this and I'll count it as 15 points, knowing full well that it's 20, 25, 30, whatever. Letting the creep come back in, where you don't measure things that you have a problem with, like peanut butter for me. I have to know, I either have to measure the peanut butter, or I have to get those little Jif individual containers, because if not, I will tell myself every time that I've only eaten 4 points of peanut butter, whether I ate a spoonful of it or a jar full of it. Okay, I will mark that as 4 points all day long if I'm not paying attention. Little things like treating myself on Tuesdays after Weight Watchers went from being a nice little treat to a bigger treat, to a bigger meal, to stopping and getting something on the way home, like Panda Express, or a milkshake, or whatever, because it's Tuesday. I don't have to weigh in again until the next Tuesday, so why not splurge? But that relaxed attitude about what I was eating and how often I was eating it and how often I was doing that, it just got too relaxed, because I was sleepwalking through it. I wasn't awake. So I've been sleepwalking through the past 4 years, but now I'm awake. So it took me going back to 2017. It took Gwen, and Debbie a lot less processed. It was very processed in that little, from COVID to now that I'm awake again. Not been eating so many whole foods and things, or things that I've made, but that little nagging, and again, Gwen is so sweet. She wasn't nagging at me, but just her asking that question to me, thinking, oh gosh, everybody else raised their hand. Everybody else had a word. I didn't have a word. I mean, she wasn't trying to make me feel guilty about it. She wasn't trying to make any of us feel guilty about it. But the whole way home, Kelly, what's your word? 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 It's already March. What's your word? What's your word? What's your word? So, I've been sleepwalking for the past 4 years. I am awake now. So my word for the rest of 2024, even though I started it on March the 3rd, no, would have been whatever last Tuesday was, even though I started it then, my word now is awake. What is your word going to be? It doesn't have to be awake. It could be, what did Melissa say a minute ago? Let's see, Melissa said her word is power. Melissa has been killing it on her her exercise routine and picking up exercise. So I do see power for her. I just needed to be awake. So let us know what your word is for this year. Again, no guilt, no pressure, not pressuring you to pick a word, but really, I mean, you know, I needed it. I need to be awake. So y'all are going to see some very different things. Still the same chats, but y'all are going to see some very different things. You know, because now that I'm awake again, I've gotten in just the fact that I'm awake today. I have almost my 10,000 steps in, and I still have an hour to go before where I would have had 1,500. Okay, I would have had 1,500. Still haven't figured out how to replace Planet Fitness for myself and Casey, but I'm working on it. I'm working on how to do that, and we're working on some much better food. So I'm awake now. I'm totally awake. What is your word? Y'all let me know in the comments. And if you're watching this on YouTube, would love to know in the comments. And if you pull this up on IfYouHaveAnEgg.com, would love to know in the comments what your word for the year is going to be. But y'all have a great week this week. I hope you are fully awake now. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please let that next video roll over. Again, that's just youtube.com. Search IfYouHaveAnEgg. Please let that next video roll over. I promise you will enjoy it. And go ahead and click that little subscribe button that's right down there, and go ahead and click the bell so you'll be notified when we are here. But y'all have a fantastic week, and I will see you next time. And remember, next week's my anniversary, so y'all be kind to me. Y'all be gentle with me next week. But I'll see you next time. And great, y'all keep posting those words. Love it, love it, love it. See you next time. Good night.